Hey guys, today we have Hemant and he is having total 3.5 years of experience in Java, Spring Boot and Microservices domain. And those who want to give same framework interview, please fill out the form below in the description and make sure to subscribe this channel if you want to crack your upcoming interviews. So now let's get started. Hey, hello Hemant, how are you?
Yeah, hi. Hi, Ali. I'm good. What about
Yes,
you?
yes, I'm also good. Shall we start?
Yeah, we can start.
Okay. So can you please introduce yourself and your recent project in brief?
Yeah, this is Hemant. I'm from Tadupalligudem, Andhra Pradesh. I have
Mhm.
completed my graduation in BSc Computers.
Mhm.
Currently, I'm working as a senior Java full stack developer in Vision Solutions Private Limited. I have
Mhm.
over 6 years of experience in IT, and the relevant experience in Java, Spring Boot, and microservices is
Mhm.
3.5. The project which you are working right now is an e-commerce application which is
Okay.
developed by using on the microservices architecture. It
Mhm.
contains inventory model, catalog model, and we are using messaging broker as a Kafka. And
Mhm.
for the front-end technology, we have used React, and for
Mhm.
the database, we have used MySQL.
Okay, okay. Okay, so let's say you are getting 500 internal server error in your Spring Boot REST API. How would you debug it?
Yeah, maybe I can. Maybe if it's a 500 internal server error, it may
Mhm.
be because of the null pointer exceptions or something else. So I can what was the rest point which I'm getting that error. I can put a breakpoint in that rest point, and I can by using my editor I can run it in the debug mode where I'm getting the internal server error. By using that I can know in the console I can it will show where what is that error and how,
Mhm.
or why it is coming. In that
Okay.
way I can check. In
Yes,
another
yes.
way, I can check the logs also. In the
Okay.
logs, I have the logback dot XML
Mhm.
file. In that,
Okay.
what was the logs whenever any endpoint if I'm hitting at that
Mhm.
point, what was the log? In this way, I can do the debugging.
Mhm. Yes, that's correct. We could check the logs. We could use
Yeah,
a debugger mode and hit the API through the postman or replicate the issue, verify controller input, etc. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So let's say scheduled jobs is running twice on your Spring Boot application. What could be the reason?
Uh, the scheduled jobs are running twice on a Spring Boot. So maybe in the two microservices
Mhm.
who are running, maybe the micro what was the service which are scheduling that
Mhm.
jobs? Those are running on the two individual instances.
Mhm.
Maybe in that cases also there is a possibility that the two scheduler jobs are running
Okay,
twice.
okay.
So in that case we have in our project we are
Mhm.
using the scheduler where
Mhm.
every day what was the orders are there we will get
Mhm.
an Excel sheet to the
Mhm.
owner who are using that they'll get the mail through that scheduler.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah,
And maybe duplicate cron jobs triggers or
yeah,
misconfigured enable scheduling, right?
yes, that will also be
Uh,
reason behind that one.
okay, okay. So let's say you updated an entity, but changes are not reflecting in DB. What might be wrong?
So you are that means you're saying you have updated an entity.
Hmm.
Whatever the entity changes which I have made, those changes are not reflecting into the DB.
Yes.
Okay. So maybe the section has closed. The session has closed. The entity is not
Hmm.
handled by the session.
Hmm.
Or in the columns. What are the columns I have? For example, I have a column. What are the columns which I have given? Those columns and the DB columns are not same. There are different columns are there.
Hmm.
The entity columns and the DB columns need to be make sure they need to be same. If you given a different entity columns and DB column, there is a possibility that the data we are sending through Postman, those data will not be saved onto the DB.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you have a slow endpoint that queries multiple tables. How would you optimize it?
Uh, uh, First, I can start with the database.
Hmm.
Where if there is any select star comments are there, instead of
Hmm.
getting the all the columns from the data, you can
Hmm.
tune the queries.
Okay.
For example, I have a product table is there. So
Hmm.
what are the required columns I need? Instead of
Hmm.
getting all the columns from the product table, I can only get I need only product ID, product name, and
Hmm.
product rate only. I can only
Okay.
get these columns only. Yeah, and
Hmm.
also I can use the pagination. Instead of, for example, I am getting the bulk data from the
Hmm.
DB. Instead of
Hmm.
showing all the data from the database in a single time, I can use the
Hmm.
pagination to get the data. So it will
Hmm.
improve the endpoint performance.
Okay. Hey guys, I want to share something important with you. Actually, Hemant prepared from our interview preparation kit and cracked multiple interviews. We have also referred him to the multiple companies. So let me tell you, this interview preparation kit has four main parts. First is complete interview preparation material. It is a step-by-step material made by me, expert and MNC's interviewers. 99% of the questions asked in interviews are covered in it. Second is two real enterprise client projects. Code and video recorded sessions are there. You can add these in your resume. Third is lifetime chat support. Here you can ask for doubts anytime. Fourth is referral support. Here we help you get referred to the top MNCs. So basically the material is organized as per your experience level and covers Java, Spring Boot, Spring Security, Spring Data, JP, Kafka, microservices, Maven, Git coding questions, Stream API coding questions, and many more. You can buy just a complete interview preparation material of the full kit with project supports and referrals. I have added the links in the description below. So now moving to our interview. And guys, before moving to our interview, I'd like to know the true feedback of this interview preparation kit from Hemant. So Hemant, can you please provide?
Yeah, I have taken
Mhm,
this interview preparation kit
mhm,
from the Genjet career. It has helped
mhm,
me. The questions are very, what are the questions are there?
mhm,
I know, I don't know how can I answer those questions. So
mhm,
the terminology and how to sort those answers,
mhm,
I know it from, I'm following that questions. I am
mhm,
getting the answers very easily. And
mhm,
also I am expecting the same answers from the interviewer also.
mhm.
What are the questions which they have provided in this material?
Okay.
I'm getting the same questions from the interviewer also. Yeah, this
Yeah.
helped me
Okay.
very lot. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank
thank
you for the feedback.
you. Yeah.
Moving to interview. So let's say two microservices need to share a common DTO. How would you handle versioning and dependency?
Two microservices need to handle the common dependencies,
The common DTO.
common DTO.
Mhm.
So is it a multi-module project?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I can use the multi-module project. In that,
Mhm,
I can put that DTO class in the
mhm, mhm,
same package. In that same package, I can call that a DTO from both the microservices.
mhm,
For example, in the inventory service, we need the
mhm,
product DTO class. That means the data transfer object, and for the
mhm.
order service also, they need the product. In that,
Okay.
we can put it in the common package. By
Mhm,
from that common package, we are sharing the TTO from both the microservices.
mhm. Okay. 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 So tell me, when have you used optional in Java 8 in your project?
Yeah, in the database persistence
Mhm,
logic, whenever
mhm,
I want to get the ID, find product by ID, I want to get. So if that product ID exists with that ID, or if the product will not exist with that ID, in that case, I can get the optional. So if
Okay.
you, I can to avoid the null pointer exception.
Mhm,
Firstly, why we will use the optional?
mhm,
To avoid the null pointer exceptions, we will use the optional class. So if that ID exists, we will get the data, or if that ID does not exist, we will throw some relevant error message to that
mhm.
end user who are using that endpoint.
Okay. Okay. What's the difference between optional dot off and optional dot off nullable?
Optional dot off and optional dot off nullable. Actually, I'm not aware of that. I know
Mhm.
optional dot is empty or optional dot is
Optional
present.
dot off throws null pointer exception if the value is null.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Optional dot off nullable safely creates an empty option if the value is null.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So tell me the difference between comparator and comparable.
A comparator and comparable are used
Mhm,
for the sorting technique, where
mhm,
comparable will have the only one way to sort the
mhm,
values. Where comparator have the multiple based on the multiple values, we can
mhm,
sort the values.
mhm,
If in the comparable, we need to change the sorting logic every time we need a
mhm,
new requirement to sort. We have to change that value. But in the
mhm.
comparator, we can that means we have to change class, the class value every time. But in the comparator, we no need to change. Within the wherever we're sorting the data, in that class only we can use the comparator to change the value.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how would you make a class immutable in Java?
Yeah, we can make a class immutable in Java by making the class as a final, and whatever the setter methods are there, we need to remove the setter methods. Only need to be getter methods are there, and whatever the variables are there, we need to make it as a final private. and also whatever the reference fields are there, we need to provide it in the defensive mechanism way. That means we don't need to pass the original value. We have to pass the copy of that value. So even whoever is accessing those values, they will not change their values. So by using the immutable, we can make our class as a we can use it in the thread safety. We are using the immutable classes to make our classes as a thread safety, and also and also we are using it to make our constants. In that case, we will use immutable classes.
Okay. Okay. So what if a class has a mutable field like list of string?
Okay, list of string.
Mhm.
Yeah. So in that case, we have to pass a list of string means we cannot. That means we are getting it will override that immutable function of a class
Mhm.
if that it contains a list of fields or
Mhm.
date. In that
Okay.
case, what we need to do, whoever is accessing that list of fields, we
Mhm.
have to restrict them to change the list of values in that list. In that way, we will use defensive mechanism. Instead
Mhm.
of passing the original data, we are
Mhm.
passing the a copy of that value. Whatever the changes they made on the list, those
Mhm.
changes will not reflect to the original data.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me how garbage character works in Java.
A garbage collector works based on mark and swipe algorithm.
Okay.
For example, I have created a variable object. Those reference value will be stored in the uh,
Mhm.
static block, and the object value will be stored in the heap area.
Okay.
Once our program execution has completed, whatever the static values will be there, those connection to the object heap area will be removed, but the objects will be still stays on that heap area. If that
Mhm.
heap area gets filled, we will get the out of memory exceptions. To resolve that, garbage collection works. Whatever the references, whatever the strong references which are removed,
Mhm.
those objects will be removed from that heap area. In that
Mhm.
way, garbage collection first it will mark, and after
Mhm.
that we will have a young generation and old generation, where
Mhm.
whatever the new objects are there, it will put into the young generation. After
Mhm.
some time, it will give the age to that objects, and after that it will move to the eden. Then after it will move to the old generation. In
Mhm.
that way, it will garbage collector works.
That's correct. Have you heard about stop the world event?
Yeah, garbage collection works based on the stop the world event.
Okay.
Whenever a garbage collector runs, first it will stop entire program execution. Then
Mhm.
after the garbage collector do that work. That means mark what are the objects which
Mhm.
we need to remove, what are the references which don't have. It will remove those objects, and first it will mark it, and after that it will remove the objects. And after the heap area is removed, there is some gaps will be occurred. Then it will compaction. It will fill those gaps between that object.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Uh, can you tell me why is string comparison using double equals operator risky?
String comparison operation double equal to uh, yeah, why? Because string is an special class in Java, where whatever the objects are string literals which you have stored, it will store in a string constant pool. In that string constant pool, it will check by default string have the equals method. It will check the content.
Mhm.
It will check the content method. If you are using the string, we no need
Mhm.
to over there is the equals method.
Okay.
Yeah. So in that way, we will using that double equal to will give the not proper response. That's why we will
Mhm.
not use a double equal to. We will use equals method to check the content of that objects.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me how does Java handle thread safety in multi-threaded environment?
Yeah. Java handles thread safety by using thread class and by runnable interface and by callable interface. In these three ways, we can make our classes in the multi-threaded environment
Mhm.
using the by Java uses the multi-threaded environment to get
Mhm.
these things.
Okay. Okay. When would you use concurrent hash map over collections dot synchronized map?
Concurrent hash map over collection dot synchronize map. Yeah. Concurrent hash map is used to in that
Okay, so tell me, why do we use collections or synchronized map?
Yeah, it is for the thread safety. We will use collection dot synchronized map.
Okay, so our hash map is not a thread safe, so we make it a thread safe by using collections or synchronized map, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now both becomes a thread safe, concurrent hash map and hash map, but
Yeah.
still we will prefer concurrent hash map over this hash map. Why?
Yeah. Concurrent hash map will lock the bucket wise. Will do the locking
Yeah,
on the
it will
bucket
lock
wise.
the bucket wise, segment
Bucket
wise.
wise locking. So it will provide the thread. It will
But
follow the
in synchronized map case, it will lock whole map.
whole map.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in concurrent hash map is doing the bucket wise locking. So multiple threads can access that concurrent hash map. So that's why we will use a concurrent hash map compared to collection dot synchronized map.
Okay.
Concurrent hash map.
What is a functional interface, and give a real world use case?
Yeah, functional interface is an interface which is provided from the Java 8 onwards, where it contains only one abstract, only one method, only one abstract method, and it was supposed to be annotated, mark it as a functional interface.
Okay.
And by using the functional interfaces, we can invoke the Lambda expressions.
How does the Stream API improve code readability and performance?
Yeah, Stream API.
Okay, one second. Before moving to this, let me ask a follow-up question of the last question. What happens if you add a second abstract method to a functional interface?
It will throw an error. It will not allow us to add in another second abstract method to the functional interface.
Yeah, that's correct. It will throw a compiler throws an error.
Compiler throws an error.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. Now tell me, how does the Stream API improve code readability and performance?
Yeah, by using the Stream API, we can write whatever the code which you supposed to write previously before introduction of the Stream API. We can write a code in a very simple and simpler manner. We will use the terminal interfaces. What are the Stream terminal functional interfaces and intermediate functional interface intermediate functions. By using that, it will provide we can write the code in a very simpler manner, and it will provide the Lambda expressions to pass the function from one function to another function. In this way, it will provide some predefined functions also, map and filter, so we can write a code in very easy and faster manner.
Okay. Can you tell me, how do you, or how would you implement deep copy in Java for a custom object?
Deep copy of Java in custom objects. That means we will use this deep copy in immutable classes, right? Immutable classes.
I think we should implement clonable and manually clone each nested object, or we could use serialization or copy constructors. Okay.
Actually, I'm not aware of that.
It's fine. Moving ahead, can you explain what happens behind the scenes when you run a Spring Boot application?
Yeah, when we run a Spring Boot application, what will happen? Spring Boot application will start from the Spring Boot application run method, where it has annotated with Spring Boot application, where it contains three annotations with the enable auto configuration, component scan, and after that auto configurations. Where our IOC container, the Spring Boot IoT container, will start. After it's started, it will check what are the classes which are annotated with component annotations. So it will scan what all the classes which are annotated with component, and it will create the beans for that. So what are the beans which are handled by the Spring Boot IOC container is called as Spring Beans.
What's the difference? Yeah, go ahead.
And also the component scan, where component, what was the package which you have added. In that package, what are the classes are there, it will start the scanning by default. If you want to add another package to scan, we have to explicitly mention the package name in the component scan. Yeah.
Okay. What's the difference between field injection and constructor injection?
Field injection and constructor injection, we can by using the variable we can do the field injection, and by using the constructor we will use the constructor injection.
Okay.
So if you, constructor injection is preferable over than field injection. Why? Because in the constructor injection from the Spring Boot 4 point onwards, we don't need to put @auto-void annotation. So
Okay.
if you the developer forgot to add the @auto-void annotation, we don't get any problem. And also, if the field injection, by using the field injection, we can get the null point reception. But in the constructor injection, at the time of the compile time only, we will know the error is occurring. So we can add that required dependency at on the constructor. Yeah.
Okay. Moving ahead. Have you worked with configuration properties annotation?
Configuration properties and I worked on configuration properties.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah,
And also tell me how it is different from value annotation.
Yeah, value annotation. What are the properties which you have added on the application dot properties? For that properties, we need to get that value. We need to inject that values into that variable. At that time, we will use @value annotation. Configuration property. It will store the data in the key and value format, where we will put it key and value format to get the data from the values.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you handle exceptions globally?
In the exceptions, at the controller level, we need to handle the exceptions. We will use @REST controller advice. In the exceptions we will handle it centralized manner. In that we will put in one global exception handler, where we will annotate it with the @controller advice and @REST controller advice. On the top of the class, on the method, we will put @controller advice. If you want to handle the exceptions in the service layer, we will use try and catch blocks.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the difference between valid and validated annotation?
Validated annotation, we will use it at the Jakarta field level annotation. What field level? What are the fields which you will not given? We will not to throw. For example, I have a field called phone number. In that phone number, they need to be entered the data as 10 digits. In that, they have entered only 9 digits only. At that time, we need to throw some warning error. In that case, we will use @validated. And @valid, we will use it at valid. Not remember exactly, but validated I know.
Okay, so they both actually annotations used in request objects.
Okay.
Be invalidations.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So moving ahead, how does Spring Boot handle JSON conversion internally?
Yeah. JSON convert. JSON. Spring Boot. If you are using the Spring, we need to add the JSON API to convert that from whatever the data which you are sending. It need to be converted it from. For example, we are sending the data in an object manner. We are sending the JSON data. The Spring Boot internally convert into JSON to object format by using the JSON API. In that way, we need to in the Spring we need to add those dependencies, JSON dependencies externally. But in the Spring Boot, they have added internally, so we need to add that JSON API. It will automatically convert.
Correct. Now tell me, what are common performance tuning techniques for a Spring Boot application?
Common performance tuning techniques are like whatever the dependencies which we are not required, we will put configurations configuration on missing link. That means whatever the dependencies which are not required, we will avoid those dependencies. And after that, in the query optimization, like instead of getting all the SQL fields, we will get only what are the required fields only. And if there is any joining columns are there, left join columns are there, we will remove the left join columns. We will put only the joins only if it is possible. And after that, if there is any pagination is there, we will use a pagination only instead of getting all the data. These are all the common techniques we will use.
Correct. And what about lazy initialization?
Yeah, lazy initialization also. Okay. So instead of loading the dependencies at a time only, at the time of the application startup, instead of loading all the dependencies, we will put at the rate lazy. So whenever it is required, then only we will use this. Spring Boot
Correct.
internally use the proxy to call that proxy. Instead of, if the dependency is not available at the time of application loading, it will create the proxy to load those dependencies. Whenever we required, then only it will use. If use at the rate lazy annotation.
Correct. Okay, so moving ahead, how would you customize a generated query?
Sorry?
How would you write a customized query?
Customized query. That means you are asking about HQL query.
Yes.
HQL query. We will use a direct query annotation, and we can write any it depends on the application. If they want the performance, we will use the JDBC query. We will use negative query dot create native query. In that we will write the query JDBC query. If you want to ORM based, if you use Hibernate, they want the object-based format. In that case, we will use create query. By using that create query, we will use a Hibernate query, HQL query to get the data.
Okay.
Yeah.
Correct.
In Hibernate, we will use the entity classes as a table name, and in the native queries, we will use database columns as a column names to write the query, table name and column name.
Correct. So tell me, in a entity class, you haven't mentioned the table name with the table annotation.
Okay.
So what happens?
Yeah, if you don't mention the table annotation, whatever the entity class name is there, it will take the database table name.
Correct, with the small letters.
With small letter, yes. It will take it as a by default as small.
Okay. Explain the difference between save all, and flush method.
Yeah, save. If you want to save the data into that database, in that case we will use save all. If you want to save the multiple entities, we will use a save all. Flush, where at the time when we are saving the data, the persistence context will do the auto dirty check, where in that auto dirty check, if there is any changes in that changes in the entity after the database has saved. For example, I have a object called product. I have saved that. I have do the changes and I have saved, and after that again I have do some changes on the product database. At that time, the persistence context will do the auto dirty check, and it will save the data into the database. In that case, we will use flush.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the difference between fetch.type lazy and eager?
Yeah, fetch.type lazy and eager. So we by using this fetch.type lazy and eager, we are telling the we are telling the entity classes to when we will get the data. For example, fetch.type lazy. For example, my order class is depends on customer. So whenever I'm getting the customer, we no need to load the orders database. We only need the customer data only. In that case, we will do fetch type dot lazy. In that only customer data will be loaded, and the Spring Boot will use the proxy to load that orders data. And if you use the fetch type dot eager, whenever we're getting the customer data, orders data will be also loaded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me the difference between cascade type dot all and cascade type dot merge.
Yeah, cascade type dot all and cascade type dot merge, where
Mhm.
in the one to many relationship, I can give this in the one to many relationship where I am saving the customer, and I also need to save the order data also. So whatever the operation may be, if you are saving the data, we need if you are saving the considered customer table as a order
Mhm.
table as a parent class, and the
Mhm.
customer data as a child class. If you are
Mhm.
saving the order data, customer data also need to be saved. In that case, we will use cascade type dot all. If you want to delete the data, customer data also need to be deleted. In that case, if you want to perform any operations on child data, it will need to be reflect on the parent also. In that case, we will use cascade type dot all. And if the entity object is removed from the session, the entity object is removed from the session, and we are doing again the changes on the section. After that, we need to save the data into that database. We will use session.merge
Mhm.
into that entity object.
Okay,
Yeah.
correct. Tell me, how do microservices communicate with each other?
Yeah, microservices are communicating by
Mhm.
in the they have given three types, three ways to communicate with the each other. Actually, there are
Mhm.
four:
Mhm.
REST template, web client, TN
Mhm.
client, and REST client. REST template is depreciated, and they have introduced a REST client where we have the two types of communication is there: asynchronous communication and synchronous communication. For the synchronous communication, we will use REST client. For the asynchronous communication, we will use web client. In the synchronous communication, the threads will wait for the response from the another microservice. For example, my inventory service is communicating with the order service. So what in the inventory service, in the asynchronous communication, the inventory service will wait for the response from the order service. But in the asynchronous communication, the inventory service will not wait for the response from the order service.
Mhm. Okay, okay. Okay, so can you tell me about CI/CD pipelines? What do you think
Okay.
about CI/CD pipelines?
Yeah, CI/CD pipeline continue. We are using the CI/CD pipeline for the continuous integration and continuous deployment. Whatever the changes which you have
Mhm.
made on the GitHub repository, we are writing the in the Jenkins. We will write that pipeline in the
Mhm.
script. We will write whatever the changes which you have made. Those changes will trigger that pipeline, and
Mhm.
after that, what will happen? It will get the latest code changes from the GitHub repository, and
Mhm.
after that, we will have the Maven where it will compile our code, and it will run the Maven goals, where compiling the source code and running the unit test cases
Mhm.
and packaging our code as a jar file. And after this is here after this after that, it has a continuous integration. After that, we will get the continuous deployment where Kubernetes comes into the picture, where
Mhm.
it will take that Docker image and putting the Docker image into the Kubernetes, where in the Kubernetes we have the pods, where in that pods our container will be running. From that pods we will access our application.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
correct. Okay, so can you tell me five Git commands that we use generally in our day-to-day tasks?
Yeah. Git init,
Mhm.
git add, git
Mhm.
status,
Mhm.
uh, uh, git commit.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is Git cherry pick?
Git.
Cherry pick.
uh, Sorry.
Okay, so let's say there is a main branch and you have created a feature branch from that main branch, right?
Okay.
Now you have done around 30 commits here in the feature branch, right? Now you just want to merge your feature branch into the main branch, but you don't want to merge with all the commits. Okay, you just want to merge your feature branch with a few commits, three, four commits only, but
Okay.
not all 30 commits. So how will you do that?
uh, we will do this by git branch commands. We will have the git stash or git stash command. By using that git stash or something you have, I actually
Cannot we do something like picking only those 3-4 commits and merge into the master branch.
Actually, we are using UI to do these things.
Okay.
We're
So
using
that's
API.
where we need cherry pick. We just pick few commands from our branch and merge into the
Yeah,
master branch. Get cherry pick.
with charity. Okay.
Okay. Yes. Also tell me some important annotations of Spring Boot, but we don't use frequently.
Important annotations.
But we don't use those very frequently.
Very frequently. Okay. At the rate Kafka listener.
I think
Yeah, async. At the rate async.
enable
Steve,
caching.
yeah, catchable and catchy evict. Catchable. Stereotype annotations. Controller advice. Controller service repository.
Okay. Okay. So yes, Hemant, it's done from my end, and it
Okay.
was a nice interview.